All right. So, hey, welcome everybody. It's the third session of our training track today. Appreciate all you guys tuning in from all over the state. It's super cool to sit over here in Hilo and see everybody as far as Kauai, Maui, Oahu, everywhere. So that's super great. So our last presentation today is going to be made by Charlene Iboshi. And Charlene has been a long-time Rotarian, and I'm really lucky to have Charlene as a member of our club. And everywhere I go, I always say, hey, every club needs a Charlene Iboshi who is just relentlessly out there, involved in all kinds of stuff that she brings back into our club, and we are aware of pretty much everything that's going on in the community because we have Charlene Iboshi out there, just rifling through every little, committee, service project, or whatever there is. So thank God for Charlene. And one of the big things that happened a few years ago is, I think it was Clint, right? It was Clint or Dell, right? He came and asked you to be like head of the Peace Committee, and Charlene has made that her personal mission of her life is to advance peace initiatives within Rotary. So with that, I will turn it over to Charlene.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. My name is Charlene Iboshi, and I joined Rotary actually after I retired. So I joined Rotary in the middle of 2013. So I'm not that long-lived Rotarian in terms of my Rotarian life, but I'm quite aware of the Rotary's mission. And so let me share my screen. What I'd like to do today is, my objective is to just explain our journey in terms of what we've been doing this past couple years with Rotary. And it was Doug Adams actually who asked me to be involved with our Peace Committee in our club only. And then we built it up to join with all the other Rotary clubs in East Hawaii. So let me share my screen first. Let me make sure I'm doing this right. Okay. Now I've got the wrong thing up.
Yeah, that's okay. So if should I do it? Mute their mic down. If not, I can do it for you.
Okay, hold on.
So we don't get the roosters, in the background or whatever you get going. The toilet flushing. Yeah. Okay. Nice, Char. Looks good.
Okay, so I can start. So basically, we're doing our virtual training today, and there are 5 East Hawaii clubs and 1 E-Club. And the E-Club actually is a Rotary Peace Action Group. And Steve Yoshida is one of the founders of that group. And I think he's been a spark plug in terms of helping us develop our peace program. So basically, with the 5 Rotary clubs, we started with 5 of us very active in the beginning, maybe about 5 years ago, trying to figure our way. And at that time, was just developing the websites and so forth. And so it was not a separate website. It was part of Rotary's international website. So whatever information we got, it was through that website. Since 2017, 2018, because of the focus on peace, there's a special peace website now. So it's more active. It gets people to know what all the steps are. Otherwise, one might get lost in the website. And I'll provide a link later on. So right now, we will go through our journey here. Hold on. Okay, it's not moving. All right, let me try this here. Okay, so in terms of defining peace, we have said that true peace is not merely the absence of tensions and wars. It's really a presence of justice. And what that is wellness at all levels. And we took a long time to develop the idea that for us, there are many levels that we have to deal with. One is the world, and that's the international work that Steve Yoshida does and Jim Becker and others do all over the world in helping. So that would be out there. The community is the focus area that I normally would deal with, and that would be really the state and local level. And so we call that around here. And that's the one that I participated in, and my focus has been there. And the next level, which we all carry with us, is the individual, which is in here, how we respond to our own tensions and stress. And now I think it really emphasizes all these levels. And so I call it the post-pandemic, or maybe it's the pandemic and then the post-pandemic, and it's called everywhere. I think we have to really engage all levels of how do we handle stress? How do we handle limited resources? How do we work together? Do we work together? And it really starts with the individual, builds upon the community, which is the state, or your county, state, then national level. And the world out there bridges everything, but more at the international level. So this is from the Rotarian Action Group for Peace, and they call it Peace Through Service. And from the website, and I'll give you a link later, there's a very good 5-minute video that I'm not going to share because it'll take too much time, that you'll be able to get the whole concept of what they're trying to do in these couple of videos on the website. But basically, they talk about engagement, education, and empowerment of the communities in which you have a peace initiative. Again, this initiative builds on this current Rotary 6 focus areas, and it ties into service and however you define it within your clubs. So basically those 6 focus areas would be peace and conflict prevention and resolution, which is one of the International Rotary's focus areas, disease prevention and treatment, and now that's very relevant with COVID, water and sanitation, maternal health and child health, and the last month was Child Abuse Awareness Month, and there's been talk about and Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And so in a previous presentation, people talked about sex trafficking. So it would be in that area in terms of the area of domestic violence, sex trafficking. It can fall within that focus area. Then basic education and literacy, and many of you are interested in education, and especially in the new world where everything will be digital. And we talked about this, that basic education involves access. Access is really having the ability to have internet now. And what we're finding is that there is a lot of disparity on our island anyway, with people who have access to internet, can afford the connections if they even have the access, as well as the basic content. And I think this last one, which is economic and community development, is where after post-COVID, there's going to be a lot of focus on there. And so later on, we're going to ask one of our special guests maybe to jump in on this as far as economic and community development in post-COVID times, because moving away from tourist-based economies, we have to look at our strengths on our island, as well as our other partners, as well as the global level. And we might have to look at maybe not tourism, but some other things like agriculture. Okay, hold on here. So Hawaii Island and District 5000, what we're trying to do is develop a peace building force. And so it's not just Rotary, but trying to build upon relationships. So in that, we're doing more than service projects. We're trying to not only live aloha in our small world, but is that enough? I think we have to look at beyond Rotary and how we can build in other collaborations and partnerships to have a bigger impact. We need to create our brand, which we really haven't started with. And we're creating a lane for engagement. And unlike maybe some of the other more traditional lanes in Rotary, it's been well traveled. And Connie did a good job earlier talking about membership and service in her own club. And I think that with peace initiatives, having had it started maybe in 2014, earlier, but they really formalized it in 2014 and 2015. 15, the lane was created in a forceful way then, or clear way, not forceful. So again, world peace means more than ending wars. It means safety and wellness for everyone, including us, society's most vulnerable members. And so initially, when I got involved with the peace initiatives, I was involved with trying to deal with the homeless population, the prisoners, especially women offenders who are re-entering society, because that was my interest area based on my previous work in prosecution. But now what we realize is that we all focus at different levels. So one is the global level, which is the out there. One is the national level, and then the local level, which is around us, around here. But I think as we go forward in the next year, especially, it's going to be everywhere, because we need to think bigger than what we're thinking so far. And a lot of that has to do with communication and connecting with everybody. And so one of the things we have tried to do in the past year is incorporate our relationship with Peace Corps, returning Peace Corps, as well as Rotary. So what has happened is initially when the peace action groups were formulated, the idea was you would have one signature project a year. And what we did was we chose as a group was, well, there are two. One we would do is work on homeless issues with a point in time count, as well as connect with the university to build relationships for education and the international students at the University of Hawaii at Hilo, and to find peace applicants, and also to do training, a once-a-year training, which we call the Ka'ako workshop, to build on conflict resolution, understanding conflict, and how to resolve that at all levels. And so this past year, we have worked with Professor Sumi Lee in getting more information out to the university, and also to emphasize the history of Peace Corps on this island. And so for those of you who might not know, in the early 50s, late 50s and early 60s, there was a training center on Hawaii Island. And it was actually housed at the old, what they call Old Memorial Hospital, which now is actually the homeless shelter here, which is Kealoha. So it's interesting how it's always served towards being a peaceful training center, I guess, and a place of shelter. So, you know, what you see here in the photos is Sumi Lee's class. It's an international class. And she was doing a presentation on Peace Corps and touched upon Rotary as well. And so the lower picture actually is Sarah Jaran, who is with the university. She's one of the advisors, and she was a Peace Corps trainer and then joined the university. The middle person is Bill Sekovich. He is actually very involved with Peace Corps on this island, as well as in the state. And Alan Kusunoki perhaps can talk about this. There is a big group of returning Peace Corps volunteers, and they call them alumni, I guess, or associates, and they are very active, and there are at least 200 strong on this island, and there might be even many more on the other islands. So the other person that's in the right of Bill is Misty Pacheco, and she is actually one of the youngest Peace Corps returnees, and she teaches at the university. So what's interesting, you have several generations. So you have Bill in the middle, Sarah which was the middle of the group, and then the newest, which is Misty right there. So it was a good explanation how Peace Corps has changed and their experiences has changed. But one of the questions that we had at the university was, some of these kids that were in here were actually recipients of the Peace Corps initiative. And it was interesting to hear their feedback about how their perspective was about Peace Corps. Also on the right, what you see is Bill Hansen. He's with the Hilo Bay Club. and the person next to him is a Rotaracker, and they did a awareness to build a relationship with peace and the Peace Corps, trying to do recruitment with Peace Corps, and also to educate people about Rotary. So what we're trying to do in our county is not only to promote Peace Corps, but is to say, okay, Peace Corps, Rotary, you have a common mission, and that we should share that and try to join up. What's interesting is Bill's first reaction was, we're not interested in joining another club. Many of us are in our 70s and even older, and we might write a check to help or work with some specific project, like with homelessness, if you wanted to put up a bathrooms for or some hygiene facility for the homeless. But it would be very difficult to start a club now with returning Peace Corps alumni. I'd be interested in finding out what
that's Tim Hansen, and he's on the call today too. So if you want him to comment later on, he can do that.
Oh, Tim, great! You can just jump in now, Tim. Okay, so what I'm sharing with you here on this screen is you see up there. There's a logo. It's Partnering for Peace. And so in the past, it was. I'll show you there are two different logos, but this logo is really talking about the Peace Corps as well as Rotary. So they're combining their efforts. It's been really solidified since 2014 and 2015 when they reinitiated MOU and strengthened it to say that they wanted to work on the same things as Rotary. So if you look at what they have here, you can see that Peace Corps' mission really overlaps pretty much what Rotary talks about. So the focus areas would be they have to work in education, in health, youth in development, community economic development, the environmental concerns, and agriculture. So you can see a lot of overlap there. And for others, if you look at these focus areas, you'll know that the United Nations actually, their sustainability goals cover these areas as well. So we are in communication with the United Nations group here, the small group here, but we haven't built a real good curricula in terms of moving us together as a group. We share information, basically. So here again, the theme now is, you'll see on the top there is Rotary Action Group for Peace, and the theme is Go Wage Peace. Instead of Go Wage War, it's Go Wage Peace. And the logos now you'll see is really talking about partnering in peace. So build the whole peace initiative by joining other groups that are already established. So these are pictures of returning Peace Corps volunteers that have come to our Kako workshop in October of last year, and they talked about their own experiences. And what we try to do for each Kako workshop, which is once a year, and we'll talk about it a little later in terms of the content, we try to highlight something that Rotary is doing. So it always emphasizes not only conflict resolution skills, what's relevant, but also the importance of Rotary and Rotary's role in the community. But what we're trying to do now is bring the Peace Corps initiative or efforts into that conversation so we can build out a little bit. And that's what our hope is. So again, building on the work that Rotary is doing and Peace Corps. And what we try to do is put out information. It's interesting, there was some earlier communication about how we have to brand ourselves, we have to put out information, it has to be fresh and inviting. And what I realize is there's a disparity going on, and I am part of that generational divide because I am not as engaged as I could be in social media. So as you can see right here, well, we do a lot of handouts and sign-up sheets. Connie. So it's something that we're learning, how to be more engaging. And I think that what I've learned from the earlier presentation by Randy Hart is that we have to be engaged. And I have participated in meetings recently through Zoom where people say, if you're not engaged with social media, you're irrelevant. And actually that message came home today too in the earlier presentations. So there aren't too many people who are Rotarians and Peace Corps returning volunteers, but Alan Kusunoki, and here you can see in the right-hand corner is Peter from our club. And he actually dressed up for the part at last year's event to show that he has a true heart with his Rotary as well as Peace Corps, kind of combining both of his hats there, experiences. So what we decided to do in 2020, pre-COVID actually, we decided that we wanted to really recognize all the good work that returning Peace Corps volunteers had done. So we did a pinning ceremony and we presented peace pins during Peace Corps Week in the first week of March. So Peter, Shelley, Sally O'Brien there, and the other clubs, and Kevin Hopkins, who is in the Hilo Bay Club, because he was caring for his wife, we'll probably have to do a virtual pinning, and along with Steve Yoshida. And so last year, we wanted to really emphasize that on our island, Peace Corps is rooted on our island, and they are very much aligned with the Rotary Peace Goals. And if you can see, do you know who this is over here? The guy right here. Yep, you know who he is. The most popular Benson. He's right there. So during these CALCO workshops that we do annually, we have about 80 to 100 people. So last time I think we had about 80 something or 90 something. So we range between 80 and 90 people. So what we're trying to do is, again, build the partnerships. And so if you'll see on this screen, this past year, we worked with the prosecutor's office, which is Rita right here, and then Tim. And then we work with Kuikai Mediation Center, which is Julie right here, and the university and students. Also, what we're doing is we're developing a relationship with the university, continuing to develop a relationship with the university, not only for international students to look for peace fellows and applicants, but also perhaps working on the environmental issues and agriculture, which Kevin Hopkins is very much involved with. And as you can see here, we were lucky enough to have our peace poll, so we celebrated that at the CALCO workshop to promote the idea, to have people understand what the peace poll is. And we were very lucky this year. The Out There, which is takes a lot of effort. We were very lucky because of Steve Yoshida's work. He applied for an open world leadership grant, and he was lucky enough to get it. It took them quite a while to get it, but the idea was to bring in professionals, educators from Eastern Russia to visit District 5000. And so the theme was the alternative energy and renewable energy. So they were here from September 27th through October 5th. It was a very interesting experience for me personally. And if you want, I have a very big agenda, and it would take the whole session if we covered everything that we did. But I'm thinking now that it should be shared, because this is something we should all be thinking about, especially now when we look at the issues in dealing with environment, agriculture, and everything else. Because what we learned from this is everything's connected. Everything's connected. And you cannot look at only your own individual piece or your community piece, or your initiatives. You have to look globally and share. Okay. So again, we're trying to connect out there, which is the world, to around here, which is us, to the environment. So with that, it was very interesting because we had a discussion about renewable energy for our sustainable world. And it really, I didn't realize all that was going on our island. I think that was a very great eye-opening experience. And that Hawaii as a state, we're world-class leaders of sustainable energy. And that's why they wanted to come here. Especially with climate diversity and our geography here on our islands, we're ideal for research. And like Kimo Becker can talk about this, that energy, agriculture, water, all those things that are important to survival are all connected. And that came home very clearly during the presentations we had. And we were very lucky. We were provided this educational and cultural exchange with the Russians. And I know that Steve, I don't know if others think this, but Steve always would say to us, why is it that Hawaii people don't want to do more international exchanges? And in my own mind, I'd say, it's not that we don't want to, it's just that there's so much to do here. I look at poverty here, I look at other things, I think, couldn't we just put our energy, because we're limited in our resources. But then I realized after talking and experiencing this exchange that we have to step out. We have to step out of our comfort zone. So again, this is Steve, the E-Club. They took 2 years to do the applications and all the approvals, getting all the approvals to get these delegates to Hawaii. I eventually got calls during the event from the Secret Service. And I'm going, holy moly, you know. But and that's the first disclosure, and I assume nothing it was bad. Otherwise, I would nothing occurred that I know of. So I don't think they were spying. But so the session went very well, and we couldn't do a site visit to geothermal sites because they were closed, of course. So we had a good training though, and it was more content driven. And so we had Hawaii Electric, we had Richard Howe was there talking about his own thoughts about world issues involving energy, as well as the university. They talked about agriculture. In fact, one of the big projects on our island, which I didn't know about, was growing algae to do biofuels to be able to fly planes. And I'd never had heard about that. So again, it was really interesting because each side prepared information. So one of the topics was geothermal, and Mike Kilikini did a good job. He had a video. He explained what had happened during the 2018 eruption, about what they had to do. There was a geothermal operator there, and he explained, if you look on the right side, about their experience. You know, talk about fire and ice. They had the opposite problem. They have frozen areas where they have to worry about their equipment because of the freezing cold. So I thought that was very eye-opening in the contrast. But they shared a lot, and during that presentation, there was discussion about work that Norman Anacron does. He's a university professor for agriculture, and what he talked about was how they're using compost and other things to generate better soil for agriculture. So the group was very interested in what he presented, and they were talking about they didn't have anything like what his program was like in Russia, and they were thinking of taking it back and maybe having some development of those kinds of exchanges. But more importantly, I thought this was really good, and you can see right there, Ben's in the middle of it. He's always our Hawaiian host. He has a whole family. He can do a luau at the drop of a papali, you know. So he was able to provide a social gathering at Doug Adams' home, and it was a great gathering because it was all Hawaiian food. And the host families as well as delegates really enjoyed themselves, and there was music. In fact, if you have time, I could show you. They were dancing hula, there were songs, everybody had a great time. And on the next night, we had a exchange as well. And the Russians brought actually some desserts from Russia, and they shared it with them, with us, as well as we engaged our local Boys and Girls Club, and they did a Russian meal actually. So they did borscht and some other traditional Russian meals. So that was very interesting. And we have videos of this as well. There was one young man who played music, and he was singing, and he was having a great time. And at first he was a little quiet, but then later on he really opened up. So it was very interesting to see. And the host families really enjoyed themselves. So, so now moving on to something else at the international level, there are peace centers all over the world. And there are discussions about Peace Academy, which is a more shortened version of trying to develop curricula as well as short bursts, rather than getting a master's and a fellow, to have more of an academy and get people trained up. So what they're trying to promote are 4 roles, which are develop practitioners working in the 6 areas that we talked about to optimize the conditions for a peaceful society, educators who would be fellows to become effective in careers in government, education, international organizations. And so an example would be at the University of Hawaii for Norman, who is in agriculture, and he was a peace fellow. The other type of role is to have people learn mediation and negotiate a larger level, big humanitarian ceasefires and conflict. At a local level, here in Hawaii, a lot of us volunteer or try to support the community mediators at our local mediation centers. And then of course, we need, the 4th category is the role of advocates. And that would be post-conflict reconstruction. And maybe Kimo and Alan would have more experience and talk about that. We were lucky enough because one of the things earlier on when we first got started with the Peace Committee, we said, oh, we have to find a Rotary Peace Fellow. So let's find an applicant. But it's not that easy because you have to have 2 years of work to start with. You have to have an international language, and you have to have all this experience. So it was not as easy as I thought it would be. It's not like you can get a college student and they go. They have to have some kind of work experience in their country already, or in the world doing peace, international work. So we were lucky to find Nellie Davis from Papua New Guinea, and she looked really good on paper, and she got through the first tier. She was our district applicant, but she was not selected. And but we encouraged her to apply again, but she went back to Papua New Guinea, and she continues to work in peace initiatives in her home country. Through Steve Yoshida's connections with Japan, we were able to connect up with a Hawaii Island Rotary Peace Fellow. Her name is Kalika Castine, and she went to the International Christian University Peace Center, and she's really interesting. And she married a man from Hilo, so they had always planned to come back to Hilo, or the Big Island. So she interned at the UN Hiroshima Peace Center. She was also a returning Peace Corps volunteer. She had heard about Rotary through Seeds for Peace, and got interested, and she applied and she got it. Instead of coming back to Hawaii, she was invited to apply for a fellowship to get her PhD in New Zealand. So that's where she is now. I have videos. If I can figure out how to share them, I'll share them with you. But she has done some good newsletter work, and she is willing to help us at a distance to develop more communication with her and other fellows as we move forward. So that's really a nice idea. And Steve had gone to the International Rotary Peace Symposium in I think it was Nicaragua. Anyway, he was there, and he actually made a video with the Rotaracker, and that was shared at the 2018 Kako workshop. So it gets the students who come and attend our Kako workshop, which is our signature event, as well as others, to appreciate all the levels of Rotary's impact on the world. And so this is, let me see if I can, this is Kalika right here. And these are all the other Peace Fellows that work with her. One of the other things we did was, because again, there was a Hiroshima Legacy Peace Tree Initiative. And what that is the seeds of plants that were decimated in 1945 with the nuclear attack. Nobody thought that these trees would survive, but they in fact did. So the seeds of these trees have been distributed around the world and are being grown. So we were lucky enough, and this is Steve Yoshida and Noko, as well as Lee Dombrowski at the University of Hawaii, Hilo. And they have the agricultural department growing peace trees, or these trees that come from seeds that came from Hiroshima's old trees. So this is pretty significant. And for those of you who know, there is a big Hiroshima Kenjin-kai on our island and on Oahu, I know for sure. And so we're engaging that association to help with to disseminate knowledge about what Rotary is trying to do, and trying to get everybody to work together to say, we'll not have any more wars. Let us work together towards peace. And so what has happened is this tree has been used in at least 2 Hiroshima events locally. So they take the tree, and when they do their event in August to commemorate the bombing and to say peace is what we have to strive for, they use the tree to just say, look, even those who are hurt can still survive and thrive. And especially now with COVID occurring, I think we have to have that attitude. Even if you're bombed, even if you're decimated, you can survive and you can thrive. And what's interesting is in our travels, what we were gonna, this is the master bonsai who is actually cutting the tree to make it a bonsai tree. So he actually cut it. The cuttings were actually used, and I think they're trying to try to grow those. But we found the sister tree. We didn't intend to, but we found the sister tree. So there were 2 trees that were being grown, and one was actually made into a bonsai already. So that was really interesting, just trip upon that, right? You don't look for it, but it just came into your space. So the idea was to use this tree for an education to go into the schools, so to explain what peace is, to explain that you don't want to have wars, but that even if when you have suffered the consequences of war, you can survive and thrive. And the Kuikai mediation hasn't really done that yet, because they have a peer-to-peer mediation program in the schools, but we wanted to do that. But we have to have the trees all healthy first. So because I go on my RV travels, I decided to ask the Hiroshima Kenji-kai, now he's ex-president, if he could foster the tree when I'm traveling so I don't kill it. Not one of my talents. And so one of the other initiatives that many of you are aware of, all the protests on the Mauna Kea issues. Well, Harry Kim had actually approached us to ask if Rotary would help with developing his Mauna Kea Peace Park vision. And so actually Steve, and you can see Mary right here, Bajir, Al Jubitz from, I think, Oregon. We actually talked to the mayor twice. And first he was saying, he was very excited, and he said, oh, talk to Newton Chu, you got it, we're gonna make this Mauna Kea Peace Park. But then you know what happened. And the second time we met with him, the tone was so different. And so we're taking a pause. I've talked to Peter Adler, and we're hoping that maybe now because there is a little pause on the mountain because of COVID, the protests, social distancing. Maybe this provides an opportunity for people to think about it again. And maybe there could be a peaceful solution to this TMT protest and the Mauna Kea issues. Okay, so around here, right, peace prevails in our communities. And as you know, we have some issues on this island. We have the greatest percentage of negative social indicators to start with. And then all of you know that we've suffered some devastating natural disasters. So we've had good response with some of the lava flow relief in Puna. There was a school relocation, and I think Jim Becker was involved with that. We're always involved with getting food and shelter. And then we also try to address chronic homelessness. And I know there's another track going on right now on homelessness. So from the beginning, we were trying to be involved with the homeless and unsheltered communities, which is around here. So prior to 2018, we were involved with the point in time count, which is the once a year count to count those people in homeless, unsheltered status. And I know that Pat Iona was our president at the time, and he said it was so eye-opening for him to see how people live on this island. So until you get out there, you really don't know. So it changes you forever. There's a business community that we were trying to work with in downtown Hilo and the Banyan Peninsula to address homelessness. There were some strides, but other things have happened since then. And of course, we do the toiletries and supplies, and that's normally considered a service project. And what we're trying to do is maybe be a little more coordinated in this initiative. Also, we provide meals at special events and so forth, and then provide school supplies, and then the Weinberg projects. And if you want to see the pictures, we have lots of those. So in our community, as you know, because of Hurricane Iselle, Lane, we've had earthquakes, multiple lava events. We had 3 since 2014. And now this COVID epidemic, oh my goodness, talk about PTSD for the community. But I just want to say that this island tends to have a rapid response, and Rotary is always involved. We're connected so that we have some collective impact. It's normally very strategic in our resources and what we do. We try to do something that's sustainable, not just one time. And then we try to be resilient and make our community resilient. And so I want to just do an example of one event, which was in 2018 when we had the lava, and how we worked with, and it wasn't we led the charge, we participated. We were called to action. So this is where you can see all the lava smoke in the background, but basically, because of so many people who had lost their homes, were unsheltered, this area by Sacred Heart's Church was always intended to be a shelter for the elders. And so it just got a quick start. The disaster actually created the moment that would have been maybe 5 years later. So actually out of disaster, within a month, you'll see how it was. And then 1 month later, you can see all these units are built. I sort of share that, and everybody was involved. And this is Jeremiah, one of our Rotarians. He's Jeremiah Leonard, I believe. And he's always so involved with anything that helps the community. And he's so talented. He gave talent and resources to this. So congratulations to the Hilo Club for a great member. And because of the challenges, the Poa Sunset and Volcano Rotary Club, they've been amazing through this whole adversity since 2018. They were having, earthquake every minute. It was so nerve-wracking. And both clubs have been affected. And I think for the Poa Sunset Club, a good number of them lost their homes. Yet you see here, Ron Cutler is right here. He was out there building the housing, and I think he had lost his own home. It's crazy. I mean, it shows you how people are so amazing. Rotarians are amazing. And of course, our mayor at the time still is, rather. And this is a small group of us, and there are Rotarians, there are church people, there are Hope Services people here. And what it is I have other pictures if you want to see it, but basically we're feeding 200 people every day. So the community had to figure out what organization was doing a food service to feed these guys and girls that were out there on building the homes. And this is a completed picture of one of the units. Pretty amazing. HPM, Hawaii Planning Mill, designed it. And they also are learning from this experience. So they're making them portable. This is the National Guard. They helped. I have a picture of General Hara, who was also involved with this. And so this is actually the hie, which is used for showers and bathrooms right here. So this is a mobile unit on the right-hand part of your screen. And of course, Benton and Zeta, they were at the blessing. And you can see right here, can you see all the darkness back there? That was the lava, amazing. Oh, and that was always like that. It was very dark and looming. So at the blessing, this is a unit for solar energy. It's the only one in the whole state. It's a daisy flower that Tanaka Electric donated. So that's pretty amazing here. So again, in crisis, the community's response, and I look at this as far as disparity, because peace is really trying to equalize disparity so that people can have access and can have the same wellness in the community. But basically, first and foremost, food and shelter. And like now, because of the emergency orders, there's no shut out of homes, of rentals. People can't be evicted. You can't shut down your utilities. Healthcare, including mental health. People are trying to get that out to people as quickly as possible. The legal information, info is put out daily. There are legal organizations who are trying to build information in clinics. And this is one thing I think we are set up to do in the next month or two, both with the bars and perhaps Rotarians who are attorneys. And there are a lot of attorney Rotarians. But I think we have to look at our economic response during COVID, post-COVID actually, during COVID planning, and then post-COVID. And that might be a year and a half, but there has to be a short-term and a long-term response. And will it build goodwill and better friendships, right? So that's our mantra. And one of the fun projects we have is the Peace Pole Project. And that's basically planting the universal message of peace, and may peace prevail on earth. And actually, Tim can talk about this, he's the master of the peace pole. So we were planning we installed one peace pole. I'll show you a picture of that later. And we have 2 more that we can install. We plan to map the 18 plus peace poles on the Big Island, and then encourage a peace pole privilege for Rotarians and others who come to our community. And so this was in October of last year. We installed a peace pole at the Rotary Centennial Park. Again, it's a symbol. And here you can see all the 3 clubs were involved, as well as the Liliuokalani Gardens representatives. So what we do here, more locally and individually, we have all the 3 clubs the clubs in East Hawaii have individual peace pledge. And so this was done a couple years ago. I hope that it's still being done as part of membership, as part of a packet. But what it is we commit to resolve conflicts through alternative dispute resolution rather than going to court right away. In the schools, there's a peer-to-peer mediation through Kuikai mediation and others. Also at the RILA, there have been topics involving conflict resolution and how to manage that. We were lucky enough to get people to complete their pledge, and then we had a special drawing, and that person actually donated that training, which was a basic mediation training. and we selected someone and he got that. So it was donated back for a community member. So that's the pledge. That's an easy one. This is an easy one. And Connie, I see that you're on. Maybe this is something that could be put in your membership packet. So I hope that as clubs, we can always include that. And we have to circle back to make sure the clubs are including it. We also have a Rotary mediation pledge. And so this is our signature, and we started in 2016, again, with partnership with the Mediation Center, East Hawaii Rotary Clubs, the E-Club, the Prosecutor's Office, and UH Hilo. And again, this has really been the fun part, to have that one signature event. And the past themes have included active listening skills. So that would be individual level. So it's not only a talk story, it's a workshop. So they actually practice it. Nonviolent communication. The other year we did Ho'oponopono, more a cultural perspective, which was well attended. Then the fine art of negotiation and creating the pause. So you can allow people to really engage and come to resolution. Okay, so my reflection is, I think we have to all start with the inside, and there was conversation about our legacy people, Rotarians rather, and I think it starts with respect for yourself and others, and living the four-way test as our legacy Rotarians have. And like the Hilo Club, we have Rotarians who have been Rotarians for 50, and Jimmy Souza, he just passed away, for 60 years. That is amazing. So during and you can see the book he has here, Hands Are Not for Hitting, and Worries Are Not Forever. And I treasure this picture because we just took it last year. And worries are not forever. And the Japanese would say, gaman. Just stop complaining, get focused, stop the whining, and keep your path, walk the path. So I saw this little quote on a DOH website, and I thought it was interesting, but it kind of talks about what we're saying at all levels. We have to think globally. We have to think globally, act locally, and never forget your roots to Hawaii. So I thought that was very appropriate. So post-pandemic thriving through positive peace, I think we wanted to connect with all the island clubs, perhaps a statewide peace through service action strategy. And based on Connie's presentation, comments by Randy, I think that maybe the branding and the social media, we just have to jump in, even though I'm not as comfortable with that, but maybe that's the only way to go. And maybe Ellen, you can talk about this later, about the district convention piece, focus, and maybe this is the moment we can start planning. The idea again is we want to connect up all the service organizations and networks and start a strategic action, and just stay focused and reduce the disparity and poverty. So that's what ALICE is. I'm sure all of you know what ALICE means: asset limited, income constrained, and its E is the employed. So now it's ALOC, asset limited, income constrained, unemployed, or underemployed. I made that one up. Okay. So again, we're thriving. We just have to start where we are, and then we just join others, and then we have to start measuring outcomes, because that's how you get global grants and other kind of money. And again, so it's what will you as an individual and your club do to change the world, the community, and yourself. So again, thank you. May peace prevail everywhere and within everyone. And there's some call to action. I did talk to Naomi. I know she's not on the call now, but maybe there's some ideas here about educate and join other initiatives already in your community. So the change is the Hawaii Community Foundation's framework to address the ALICE issues and connect up all the different sectors. Vibrant Hawaii is our Hawaii Island equivalent to that. Positive Peace Academy, Steve Yoshida was going to do a presentation on this in the future. So we'll ask him if he can do that for our group in Hawaii. There is a Peace Village for Youth Leadership in Hiroshima. Perhaps we can join them. And then there's a Peace Culture Village as well, which involves agriculture, environment, and peace training. So that's something up your alley, Jim. So that's something we can talk about. And again, it's all about collective impact. Service.
Sure, we got about 10 minutes to go. So,
okay, that's good.
Yeah, do you want Alan or Kimo? Tim unfortunately had to leave the meeting, but if you want us to speak, you can stop share your screen and then you can see everybody.
Okay, great. So when I do that, I just wanted to show you this one last slide that Rotary International is focusing on sustainable industries and including connecting up food banks and farmers as well as ranchers. Okay, great. So perhaps, Alan, since I talked to you about Peace Corps, evacuated Peace Corps volunteers, maybe you could just jump in on that because that's an immediate issue.
Sure. Well, Charlene's already talked about the partnership that exists between Rotary and Peace Corps. We have an issue right at hand. Some of you may not be aware that 7,300 plus current Peace Corps volunteers in countries all over the world were forced to evacuate their homes in their service country. We are fortunate or whatever to have 14 of them call Hawaii their home, and they have returned here. And it's great that we have a lot of people from the Big Island participating in this district assembly, because there are 3 evacuated Peace Corps volunteers on the island, on the Big Island. And currently, I've only been able to contact one of them and have a real conversation to find out, what's happening. But there is a need. These evacuated Peace Corps volunteers are caught in a situation where they're suddenly pulled out from the country that they were serving in, and they're plopped back home here. And to come home with no employment opportunities, an unemployment system that doesn't work because no one, not even others who are not evacuated Peace Corps volunteers, can get the unemployment money that they deserve. And Peace Corps has a special category where they're supposed to be able to get unemployment for the time that they lived overseas and worked. So anyway, we need help in that area. And it's great, it's great to know a lot of Rotarians on the Big Island because some of them have already stepped up. We talked about Jeremiah Leonard. He's already offered to try to help because construction industry can still go on. He's promised to help with employment. I've contacted car dealerships and asked them, can they help to make it easier for these evacuated volunteers to purchase wheels? Because right now, just imagine, you just come back home and you have no way of buying a vehicle. And I've contacted Pat Iona too for used cars. So if there is anyone who can help, I'm asking for help. Contact me. I will put my email address and cell number on the chat, and please feel free to contact me. I can add more information to this. So please help. Thank you.
Thanks, Alan. Kimo, do you want to jump in on some of the other?
Well, Charlene, I'll be very brief because I know we're almost out of time. I'm a member of the international service team, and there's several others on this call, Mark Harbison and Murray Vassar, I just want to mention that doing local projects, both using district grants and even global grants. Most people think global grants are for outside of the United States, but actually we can do a sustainable global grant for Hawaii. And it's my opinion that post-pandemic, we're going to be challenged, especially in the tourism industry, because the tourists aren't going to just flock back here. And so those that maybe need retraining perhaps could look at agriculture. We've got such great resources locally, organic farming, providing vegetables, fruits, and so forth, that we could develop. And, you know, clubs could combine together and develop a global grant to support the people here, say for agriculture is a good example, and a sustainable agricultural program to help employ those people and also feed the people here in Hawaii. So I think
Sounds like a grant.
we as Rotarians need to get creative at this point. Great job, Charlene. Aloha.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
I'll also provide information if you want to get a hold of me. I think I've learned a lot actually by participating in today's event, that we have to be more engaged socially with social media and branding. So I realize that we'll have to find people with that kind of talent to help.
Thank you, Charlene.
Thank you.
Okay, well, hey, folks, we've hit 12 o'clock straight up. You can, if you have questions, you can contact Charlene probably directly. Char, if you wouldn't mind putting your email down in the chat.
Sure. Okay.
But otherwise, man, wow, thanks. That was a lot of information, really informative. So I want to thank on this call, there was, I think at the max, we had about 38 people on the call. So that's pretty impressive. So I appreciate you guys taking the time to spend your morning with us today. Thank Randy for presenting. Connie, I hope you will get a manicure soon. And then Charlene, of course. So thanks a lot. Those of you guys that are president-elects, 7 o'clock Monday night, Kelly McDonald's going to be on with me facilitating a what do we do now for Rotary since COVID-19 showed up. So
Great. Thank you.
thank
Thank
you,
you.
everybody. We'll take care.
Thank
And,
you.
have a good afternoon.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Aloha.
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 Thank you, Charlene.